This is the SENTINEL Infrared Telescope that Kerbalism has added some more experiments to. If I go over to the data part of it, the infrared telescope is now gathering science. In fact, if I go to the auto, there it is. There is 660 science, but unfortunately it is transmitting it. If I go over to here, it does tell me, yep, at 380 kilobytes per second, and at that transmission rate, it's going to take over 82 years, if you can see that, 82 years to get all of that science. And I put this into orbit into what I thought was a nice orbit, let it sort of do its thing, and then somebody immediately commented after the stream, why don't you just put more of these up here, and then they can all collect science and all transmit it back, and you can knock this down significantly. So that's what I'm going to do for the first part of this stream, is update this, launch a bunch more. I think that's something interesting to do. I don't think I've done it live for quite some time, to put multiple probes in a satellite. We're going to, or into one launch, and spread them out nicely and look at how to do that. And the other thing I want to do, and I hope to get to that in this stream, is to start to improve upon my asteroid moon station that I have in orbit about the moon. Right now it is simply a truss type of structure with a bunch of docking ports on it hooked to an asteroid, and then a great big giant fuel can, and I want to start making it habitable, put science labs and scientific experiments, and have a lander / rover eventually attached to it. It can support that. That can go down to the surface of the moon with a pile of Kerbals and really mine the heck out of those Kerbals. Hello, folks. Hello, Elena. Hello, Michael. Anyway, so let's just go over, though, with the plan first with this infrared telescope. So if I just turn off everything, excuse me, about that, here's the orbit that it's in right now. And my plan is to add 8 more of these onto this same orbit. There's no reason for them all to be in the same orbit, nor to be equally spaced apart, but I thought it'd be fun to do that anyway. It'll certainly look nice once it's done, and you do that kind of thing with like a relay type network. So I want to put 8 more up here. I'm going to do that in 2 launches of 4, and we're only going to do one of those 4 live. And then the other launch, which will be identical to the first one, I'll do that between the 2 streams, so it'll all be set up for next week. And I want to space those 8 equally around there, and equally, I want it to look nice with the one that's already there, so there'll be 9 altogether. I want this one to be equally between the 2 that are going to be on either side of that. So we're going to get into a little bit of fiddling around with that. I think that will be fun. And to help facilitate that, it really helps. It doesn't really matter what this orbit is, but it does help from a figuring it out standpoint to put this into an orbit that nicely divides, where the period of that orbit nicely divides into the number of satellites you want to put in there. I hope that makes sense. So let me explain. So if I go over to here to my orbital info, this one is right now in 1 hour, 21 minute, and 58 second. I didn't pay any attention to the period as I was inserting it. But if I made this 1 hour and 20 minutes exactly, that's 80 minutes. And 80 minutes sure does divide by 8 very nicely. Each of the satellites can be 10 minutes apart. It's going to be easier to do the calculating than it is to work out with this. So my first job is I want to reduce this orbit actually increase the orbit, just slightly, so that the period is 1 hour and 20 minutes right on the button. And in fact, although KSP here gives me the period to the second, I know if I open up Kerbal Engineer right here and get into editing this HUD up here, if I go to orbital information, there's orbital period there. We'll move that up so it's with the rest of the orbital info above that. Scroll this up a bit, above that little break. I know all of this writing is all really small, but here it is. So there's that's my acceleration. I pushed the wrong button. Oh my gosh. Orbital period. Da-da-da-da. How did I end up with acceleration? Am I just crazy? It's here. It's not here. There should be an orbital period. I'm on orbital. Maybe I will be using the stock one. Orbital speed. That should be one of the most basic ones. Post-burn. I feel like I'm missing some stuff here. Let's just look at this one more time. I feel like I just did something really dumb. So edit that HUD. Orbital speed. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time with this because it's not necessary, but it really is annoying that I do not see orbital period. I see post-burn period and stuff like that. It's not already here, right? Is it on the other side? No. It's got to be under... Maybe it's under vessel? It can't be under vessel. That would make no sense. Okay, something weird is happening why I don't have periods. So it looks like I might be using the stock one. Alright. Alright. Something to figure out for later. I'm going to be using this period down here. Now, I did do some figuring. And I wrote it down. That if I put it into an orbit of 672.6 kilometers... that should work out just fine. Why does that mean it looks like I'm lowering my... Lowering will speed me up, which gets the... Yes, of course, I'm lowering the orbit. Lowering makes you faster, which gives you a lower period. I can do this. Okay, now we're going to be tweaking these spiders down a lot, I think. If I just put that... Does that do all of them? Oh, you stinker. Because we're going to have to do some fine adjusting here. I'll put them all over here. Unfortunately, adjusting one doesn't seem to want to do all of them. So we'll go 30, 30, 30, and 30. Okay. So I want this periapsis. What's my number again? 672.6 kilometers. Okay. So let's just burn a little bit. 672.6. I want to get this as precisely as I can. 672.6. Going very slow here. Now I have limited ignitions, something to be aware of too. That's close enough. Okay. And in fact, I'm going to even... Now, let's keep them at 30 for now. How many ignitions are still left on these? Somewhere... 60 ignitions. What am I worried about? Oh my gosh. All right. So anyway, that is that. And let's get down there to our apoapsis or periapsis. And I also, well, here, let's do this, finish this off first. I was also thinking about radiation belts, and I did check to make sure that this altitude was above the radiation belts, because I don't want to suddenly put this thing into an area where its electronics are going to get all messed up. Okay. All right, we're going to lock this on prograde. And instead of looking at apoapsis, oh no, retrograde, silly, retrograde, there we go. Instead of looking at my apoapsis, which I also want to get down around the same, what's more important to take a look at is the orbital period. I want to knock this down to 1 hour and 20 minutes to the nearest second. This is going to be my last look at Kerbal Engineer, that there isn't a... Edit that HUD. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious, but I do not see orbital period in there. Okay, forget it. Forget it, forget it, forget it. Got to get and do our burn. All right, so, yep. So I'm just going to burn in a retrograde direction. I'll have to do that later. Until this says 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 0 seconds. So here we go. And again, I'm going to take my time. But it's the period that's more important of the two numbers, as opposed to 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Do a little more. There we go. pretty happy with that. And like that, this isn't exact. You'll never get it exactly circular, so I'm never going to worry about that. But now it's in a nice period that will facilitate me putting in some more things. It should also be tucked in nicely, just barely. It's hugging around the perimeter of that radiation belt, but that's okay. But it's above that one, and it's below this one. This one starts at this zone here, well below. It's not in, this is the region of the belt. So, good, good, good. Let's get to the Space Center. It's already in the HUD, I'm seeing in the chat. Am I just blind? Well, what else is new? Of course I'm just blind. It's already in the HUD. And somebody says, I think he knows. And I'm like, I don't think I know. I don't think I know that at all. So we're going to open up that old infrared telescope, which I think I just called the OKTO Infra or something like that. There it is. OKTO 2 Infra. There. Load. Okay, so this is the one that's up there now. And we're going to start with, we're going to take this booster, we're going to completely chuck it away. That is not of any use to us. And I'm going to rename this. I just got lost with my numbers. This is the OKTO 2 probe core, and I was numbering, you know, the first satellite with the OKTO 2 on it was the OKTO 2-1, and then the OKTO 2-2, and then I lost track of the numbers because it was a long time since the last one. And then I looked, and that infra, I went through my old missions, should have been the OKTO 2-5, so this is going to be the OKTO 2-5B. There we go. So that's its new name. All right, we are going to need to modify this, and one of the main things we're going to do is it doesn't need nearly this much delta V, because it's going to be in a carrier vehicle. It's going to get dropped into an elliptical orbit, and then all it needs to do is circularize itself. And I did do, again, some working out in the interim, and I got 186 meters per second of delta V this thing needs. So it doesn't need this much at the bottom anymore. Instead, what it's going to get is I'm going to take the, here, let's arrange these fuel cans by mass. That was the Oscar B, but Restock gives us one that's half the size. This is the Oscar A, that's half the size as the Oscar B, and then on the bottom of that, I think I can get away with just a single Ant engine, just like so. And so that gives me, yeah, thrust to weight of 0.3, which is fine, 212, which is above the 186 I need. So I think I'm just going to do that. Now I am going to clean this up a little bit, but we're not going to do too much to it. I'm going to move this antenna because I want to get it in a fairing, and things that are sticking out so don't help with that. So I'm going to get a cubic octagonal strut. We'll stick that there. We're going to take the antenna. You're going to want to go in there, aren't you? There we go, like that. And I'm just going to tuck it in. If I extend the antenna, tuck it in just a little bit more, just before it starts clipping into stuff. I can actually go up a bit so it's centered, and I can bring it in a little bit more. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. And actually, speaking of antennas, yeah, I could use a beefier antenna. Unfortunately, this is the fastest antenna I have, which does limit how quickly it can transmit science, unfortunately, but I got what I got, so that's kind of what it is. Now, in the interim, speaking of antennas, I did install another mod here called the Kerbalism Companion Calculator, which is all about calculating signal strengths and antenna speeds, data transmitting speeds. And signal strengths I already understood. In fact, I did a video on that quite some time ago, and I got it on a spreadsheet. So I've always understood how signal strength worked. I always used to assume that all the game did was whatever was your fastest antenna, that is going to determine what your data rate is. But the data rate is also a function of the signal strength. And in fact, when the signal strength starts getting below 80-90%, the data rate drops off dramatically. So that's something to be kind of aware of. So for instance, this little planner here is telling me if I'm around Moho, right now I would have an 85.56 signal strength, and that would bring my data rate from 380.3, which is its maximum, down to 149.2, like less than half of it. And I could fix that by, you know, putting on 2 of these, which would improve the signal strength, and you can see that brings up my data rate. So it's nice that you got a little mod here to calculate it for you, but the problem is around Kerbin, and they don't give you a Kerbin as an option, so I'm just going to select the moon. The data rate from 2 of them is exactly the same as the data rate from 1 of them. 1 of them does not give you, because my signal strength is already at 100% even with 1, so putting on another one does not affect the data rate. And in fact, if you start getting into other antennas, this is the part I wasn't aware of. But let's say I did something like put on a Communitron here, which is a much slower antenna. Look what happened to my data rate. And it does what's called a geometric mean. People are probably used to the arithmetic mean, which is like the average, what people think of as the average. You add things together and divide by how many things you have. The geometric mean is you multiply your numbers together and divide by how many numbers that you have. And what it's doing is it's taking this antenna speed and this antenna speed, multiplying them together and dividing by 2, and then there's some other constant that's involved that I'm not, well, I can't speak to, because I don't remember. But that's why this comes down so dramatically. So in fact, this antenna is bringing down my speed, which frankly, I don't see how that makes sense. I can understand that if it doesn't do much, but I don't understand why it actually brings it down. So it's actually worse. This is the fastest I can get with the antenna sets that I have, which I don't really understand, but it is what it is. It's a nice little mod though. Kerbalism Companion Calculator. It's not going to help me out in this situation though, because what I had was the best situation that I got. What can you do? Anyway, that's that. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to pack 4 of these all together. So underneath this, I'm going to put a decoupler like so, and we're going to put it inside a 2.5 meter fairing like so. We're not going to build the what you call it? I can say words. We're not going to build the fairing shell yet. Oh my gosh. But what we are going to do is we're going to turn on the interstage nodes to give us a whole pile of new nodes, and then I'm going to grab this. Oh, we have to, actually it helps if you make the fairing the root part here. There we go. And now I can grab this whole guy, and we got a little node up here, and we can put that up there. The problem is, after just 2, right, I don't have any, I've run out of nodes. I can't put another one up here. So that's a little bit disheartening. I didn't want to, just do 2 at a time. Then to do 8, I'd have to do 4 launches. I don't want to do 4. I want to get 4 of these on here. But of course, what you can do, get another fairing, turn it upside down, put on the interstage nodes on that, grab this again. There is satellite number 3. Actually, what I also should do is, while I'm at it, put this force percentage right down. So we don't want these things really being pushed off when we deliver them. Okay, and in fact, I'm going to grab this and move it up. And then we could get another one and put it under here, and there's 4. Now, the problem that I have now is I would probably at this point want to start putting in some sort of vehicle down here at the bottom. Like if I just grab another probe core, but there's no more nodes. So I'm out of nodes, but you kind of know what I need to do then. I need to take this off temporarily. Actually, what I can do is just copy this. Put that down there. Don't build that fairing. That goes like that. And now I got a node underneath here that I can start attaching junk to. Actually, what I should be doing is putting on another decoupler And I'm going to stop and pause for a second and make sure that I am making some degree of sense. Like that. And then under that, I can do things like another set of reaction wheels would probably be a good idea. Advanced inline stabilizers. Probably a KOS scriptable control-y dude. That. Honestly, I think that's about it. To make a little... So there you go. There they all are. So boom, I can just build fairings across all that. We're going to, but now of course what I need to do is get all of this mess into orbit. So we need to build a transfer vehicle, and I worked out the orbit that I want to use as my phasing orbit to drop off these satellites. You'll see how that all works if you've never seen that kind of stuff before. But this thing needs, again, I wrote it down somewhere. To get itself in from an 80-kilometer low Kerbin orbit up to the orbit I want requires 422 meters per second. I'd like to add about 1,000 to that so this can deal with the upper stage of the orbital insertion. So I'm looking at around, I don't know, 1,500 meters per second. So what I did, got into my fuel tanks. Let's arrange these by names. I did play with this a little bit in the interim just to make sure it worked, that I wasn't wasting everybody's time. I took one of these. Oh, we're going to turn off these nodes here. Interstage nodes. So I don't have those nodes there anymore. This is one of those 1.875 meter parts. And then under that, I believe this guy fit really well. And then under that, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I put a Terrier engine. How much delta V is that giving me? Oh, let's check my staging too, because I'm sure this is a freaking catastrophe. Put all the fairing bits below. That will stage... Oh, I don't need to ever stage that. I don't need a decoupler there. What am I doing? Get rid of you. Well, now I got to put those interstage nodes back on. Never ever be. There we go. I just want to check this staging, make sure it makes some degree of sense. All those fairings will go on. Well, they might go on after, but yeah, this will be dealt with all individually. So that's 1,252, and I was looking, what did I say? Around, I need a little bit more. A little bit more. Oh, I know what I did. I'm going to grab for just a little bit more these little, very cute R4 dumplings. Right. Here, put that. Two-way symmetry. What's that going to get me? 1363. Yeah. Maybe a little more fuel. Oh, I got to get... You can see why I got to turn these interstage nodes off. Let's see. How about if I got another one of... Might be modifying my plan on the fly again. What else is new? What if I stuck in that guy? What about this guy? That's too much. I don't want it to have too much. So, yeah, that's too much too. How about just more of these dumplings? If I went 4. 1470, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. That's pretty good. Thrust away to 0.92. That will be fine. It can deal with the upper part of the insertion as well. Let's kind of tuck these in just a little bit. So they look not quite so goofy. Maybe a battery tucked in here would be a good idea too, now that I'm looking at this. Probably a Z200 will be fine. This thing, there's all the batteries that are all up here too that it can live off of on the way up. I'll probably deorbit this thing when it's all said and done. But I think that's looking okay. I want an antenna. This just needs to be a... Oh, it can just be a Communitron 8. Don't need anything special. Go extend that antenna. There we are. Okay, so I'm thinking this is gonna do it, and then we got to put a booster under this to make this all go upwards. Let's clean things a little bit. This looks really sketchy, so I don't know if I need them, but I'm just gonna put in. Oh, can I put? I might not. No, it doesn't like. Okay, so these are all gonna have to go all the way up to here. That's okay. That I gotta think. Is that gonna be in the way of release? I'm sure I can wiggle it out of there. I'm sure I can wiggle it out of there. Let's take this. This is going to be my main guy that's going to do most of the work. So we're going to give it a boot file, put it up to 10. These other ones, oh, I'm going to have a lot of processors on here. Actually, I'm going to run boot file number 2, which doesn't include the launch script. Launch will be handled by the one at the bottom there. Oh my gosh. I'm a little worried about wiggling out between all these struts. I got a better idea maybe. Let's go to two-way, let's go to radial symmetry. I'm just leaving myself a little bit more of a gap on the side. I'm not sure, maybe the struts are physicless, they might be. But either way, it doesn't hurt to, oh, don't stick to the, oh boy, there we go. I just think this is looking very wobbly to me. All right, let's build some fairings. Building fairings, so this guy. There we go. Oh. I think I went a little bit too close there. And I'm not giving myself, there we go. Oh, for goodness sakes, close it off. There. Okay, and 4 parts. Up that force up a lot. These are big fairings. And then a fairing down this way. That'll go just straight to here. Are you gonna let me close that, or do I have to go straight down? There we go. Again, 4 parts. I might put this just to a very quick test, and then 1 more fairing here. It's gonna go straight down. Oh, I think the struts are messing this up a little bit. That's okay. To come out a little bit and then close in, close it. That'll work. Oh, the interstage trusses are physicsless. The struts are not. Thank you, Michael. So, but I think I've left myself a little bit, I think I've left myself enough wiggle room I could wiggle this fella out. Alright, so, I don't know, this is looking... Oh, you know what else this needs? This most certainly needs some form of illumination. There are these guys. No, it won't let me... Just put these here. I think it needs illumination of some kind. If I put these on, I'm hoping that will light up that whole thing. And then I'll do one here, up here, lighting downwards. Yeah. And then this one. Okay. Some illumination like that. I think I'm pretty sure that should do it. Oh, and action groups at, I want to activate on 0, toggle that antenna. Oh, I also have, okay, these are the bigger HG61 antennas. We'll toggle each of those manually as we deploy the satellites. And most of, I don't want all of these ones to deploy, maybe just the bottom one. So which one? That's the bottom one. So all the rest of these, we'll just deploy them all manually. That will power the whole thing until the end. All right. This is going to be a thing. Interesting, the DV didn't. That's because I got the fairings all being. It's being the comment that the DV did not change with the fairings, but that's because I have all the fairings deploying at the same time as the engine, so it's not counting their weight. So if I put the weight down here, right, that doesn't change the DV, but if I put it above the engine, so this engine goes first, now I take a knock on the DV. That reminds me, they need to go into an action group as well. Action group 5. All these fairings are going to deploy. And whether they'll deploy before or after that engine, I actually don't know. Probably not. Probably just before would be my guess. So I'm going to take all of these out of the staging, because they're going to all be staged with an action group. Okay, that can go. And these will all get okay. All right. Okay. Now what we need is we need a booster. Now I got something here. What's the mass of this whole conflagration? It is 8.5 tons. So I'm going to go to my booster collection. My booster collection here. Arrange these all by mass, and I got payloads written down. Now, this is handling part of the ascent. So, oh, did I ever write down? Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. 422 plus 3,600. If I can get up around 4,000, it should be okay. So 4,000 meters per second. So let's grab this fella. Oh, no, no, no. You're an ugly beast. Cancel. That is too ugly for words. I grabbed them based on this, but as soon as I got a look at it, I went, no, no, don't like you. How about this one? Oh, this is a familiar, but this is the one that lifts up my little space. Now, I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think this will work. What I'm going to do, I'm going to lose this. Okay, we're going to come up in here. I want this fairing. We're going to lose all of this. Put a decoupler under there. Decouplers. That one. And delete this fairing for now. I just wanted that fairing base because I'll clearly want to close this all off. Under this, it has an upper stage, which I don't need, so I'm going to lose that, get that. Oh, this is getting wackier. This is the part I want. Oh, I'm going to have to do some modifying to this for sure. Okay, is this sensible? No. That is sensible, though I got to clean this up a lot. Okay. This gives me a total of... Oh, that's not even close. What was I thinking about? I was thinking that was going to do... Okay, I need a bigger one. Oh, wait, 4,000. No, this is good. I was looking at the wrong numbers because this one puts the total on the bottom. This one puts the total... 4,100. That should be good. 460. Yeah, that should be good. This should be good, the required delta V. All I need to do... I'm going to clean this up, though. That's all. So this is coming off. I don't need this big one, but I do have a 1.875 meter one. That should close this off nice. And then that should sit nice. Oh, that looks beautiful. We can lose that shroud because it's inside there. In fact, I think I'm going to just take this right out of the staging altogether. There. That's the whole thing. What do you think? Is this going to fly? We'll find out pretty soon, I guess. I did put the reaction wheels there. We'll give her a test launch. But I'm thinking we're on the verge of something. Okay, let's make sure the staging makes some sense. It does. Okay, I'm getting ready for a test launch. Let's adjust the lower stage thrust to weight. Come down a lot. Not a lot, but a little bit. That's good. Okay. All right, let's see what happens. We'll do a simulation. So we're going to open up our crash simulator. There is, oh, and I got the, I switched this into, oh, I have way too many of these. Oh, frick. Okay, I'll have to just close one. Oh my God, it's doing all of these. Okay. All right, oh, this is good. Okay. Yeah, this is the crash simulator on wireframe mode. I'm not sure if this was smart or not, but it's what it is. So let's do a test launch. We're going to run our launch program. 0 inclination, 80-kilometer orbit, normal attitude on the way up. We'll see how this goes. Okay, we're off. Hide that. Okay, so first step's good. I'm looking for stability and wobbliness. It seems pretty good. Stiffness-wise. Okay. Can't you just revert the flight? Yeah, I could just revert the flight. Somebody's at, like, if I were playing in a stock game and didn't use the simulator, I would simply just revert the flight back to launch or back to the VAP during my testing. But I do like the crash simulator because it very neatly separates testing from the actual flight. So if I actually decide I'm going to do the flight and suddenly something goes wrong, I live with what happened, right? Here, if something goes wrong, I'm clearly in a simulation. And also, it's costing me money up here. Right now, it's 3,300 Kerbucks and climbing. So, you know, I can't just keep doing simulations. It forces me at some point to just say, no, I'm going to be done. But definitely, if I was playing a stock game, I would not do a I would just do, you know, launch and revert. And people were talking about stability. There you go. Something went astray there. Okay, so we're going to revert back, terminate the simulation.